It is great to be with postal workers today, and I want to thank you for inviting me to your convention. Mark, more importantly, I want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank you for your friendship. I want to thank you for being the conscience of a lot of trade unionists when they need to have a conscience and it sometimes is missing. Give your president a great round of applause. Now, the American Postal Workers is a very powerful union. You perform a vital government service for our nation, one of the very few that's required by the U.S. Constitution. Nobody is more patriotic. Nobody is more disciplined and focused. Nobody has an impact like yours on every single community in America. Your reach is universal. And just the other day, Mark, you'll be happy to hear this, I was talking to a friend of mine about the Postal Service, and right off the top of his head, he knew two facts that surprised me. The first involved the pre-funding crisis, and he didn't use those exact words, but the idea was there, so people do get it. And the second was about the success of the Postal Service in the digital age. Folks understand how e-commerce means more package delivery and a stronger service. You see, the Postal Service is vital, critical, essential for America. But your enemies, our enemies, are on the attack. You and your brothers and sisters in the Grand Alliance have reversed the damaging and false narratives and you've done it the old-fashioned way. Your activists and members have been writing letters to the editor, lobbying for your local elected leaders and talking to friends and neighbors and anyone else who would listen. And you have now changed the national conversation about the work that you do. And after Election Day, that activism is going to help us change the law to finally end the manufactured crisis at the Postal Service. We'll return the Postal Service to solid footing, and we'll do it without any poison pills. You know, nobody's talking about cutting Saturday delivery anymore. That's a win. And I love the fact that now 7-day delivery is the buzz, right? Now that's progress. And you did that. You did that with your activism. See, look at what a difference 4 years makes. Back in 2012, the Republican platform called for the privatization of the Postal Service. And the Democratic platform, well, it didn't say anything. It was silent. Well, this year, the Republicans were silent on the Postal Service, and the Democratic platform included key priorities like postal banking. See, activism works, brothers and sisters. You did that, and now we're going to make it a reality after this election's over. You see, you're part of a national movement. Working people are putting good jobs and raising wages and strong unions front and center, and we intend to keep them there. See, we're winning the debate. Now it's time to win the election. And I'm not just talking about winning the election on Election Day. I'm talking about winning after we win the election on Election Day. You see, when we fight for union candidates and union values, we're fighting for justice. We stand for justice at the ballot box. We want every single citizen to be able to cast a vote. And that means saying no to the discriminatory voter ID laws and yes to universal vote by mail. You see, we stand for justice in the workplace. Everyone who wants to join or form a union should be able to do so without interference, threats, firings, or anything else from their employers. And employers that violate that right should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and that law should be meaningful, not a simple slap on the wrist. And we want justice for our families and communities. That means good schools and safe roads and affordable health care and quality public services, whether it's Social Security for our seniors or health care for our veterans. And we want equal justice in our workplace, our streets, and our courts. No matter who you are, who you love, where you were born, how much money your family has, these are our priorities, brothers and sisters. We can win them, but we're going to have to work for it. We're going to have to work for it. You see, your mobilization and your groundwork will make the difference. When your members turn out, you change hearts and you change minds. You convince undecideds. You move the needle. In every single race from the State House to the White House, your voice and your vote for working family candidates will be among the most influential in America. Now, you know unity. You know solidarity, and you practice it. You're there every time America calls. You're trusted, you're reliable, and you get the job done. You see, that's what working people do. We do whatever it takes, no matter what the cost. We wake our country up every single day and we tuck her into bed at night. We don't mind hard work. We do it with pride, but we won't be face down and we won't be pushed around, and we will not be denied an economy that works for all of us and gives us a share of the very wealth that we help produce. You see, brothers and sisters, it's time to get serious, because this is an unprecedented election. There's never been someone as unqualified, unfit, unprepared, and unhinged as Donald Trump. Not only would electing him be a national disaster, it would be an international catastrophe. You see, this isn't about Democrats or Republicans or progressives or conservatives. The 2016 presidential election is a choice between sanity and insanity. Donald Trump is dangerous for our country, dangerous for our communities, and dangerous for our children. You know, he's talked about shooting people multiple times. That's not a gaffe. That's not a misunderstanding. It's who he is. See, Trump advocated treason, actually suggesting that Russians should commit espionage on American soil. He said he would order our military personnel to commit war crimes. And he insulted the parents of an American war hero. And he called President Obama the founder of ISIS. And this conservative commentator gave him 5 chances to say, well, he really didn't find ISIS. He just created the climate where ISIS could rise. Right, Donald? And Donald looks her squarely in the eyes and says, no, he founded ISIS. You see, brothers and sisters, these moments reveal Donald Trump for who he truly is. Not only as a candidate, but as a man. See, he's not like Mitt Romney, who I disagreed with, but who I can respect. He's not like John McCain, who I campaigned against, yet I admire as a great American. And even if you overlook Trump's shocking and disgraceful behavior, you still have a con man who spent decades shipping our jobs overseas, failing to pay for the work that we do, devastating our communities, and treating us like second-class citizens. You see, he says it'd be good for workers, but remember this: he's an Olympic-level liar. Fact checkers have looked at it, and they say he tells a lie every 5 minutes. Now, if this guy was Pinocchio, he wouldn't be able to turn around in the state of Texas without hitting somebody. His nose would be so long. And he's misled millions of Americans into thinking he has the answers. Well, he doesn't. See, he doesn't have the answers to our problem. He is the problem. Now, here's all you need to know about Donald. He thinks our wages are too high. Now, I'm going to do a survey in here, Mark. Everybody who thinks your wages are too high, raise your hand. Oh, the person signing over there was telling them to raise their hand. I thought she was raising her hand for a second. Now, everybody who thinks Donald Trump's wages are too high, raise your hand. Good, I'm going to report that back to him, Mark, straight from APWU. He's stolen our pay time and time again. See, he says outsourcing creates jobs. He rooted for the housing collapse. He supports right to work 100%. And he thinks Carl Icahn, a man who spent his entire life killing jobs and our benefits, would make a good Treasury Secretary. Well, listen to this. It's no wonder that the business firm Moody's, now this isn't a union publication, this is a business firm, Moody's, says Trump's economic plan would cost our nation 3.5 million jobs. Think about that. 3.5 million jobs going south. He'd make us unemployed again. Now, the good news is we have solutions to real problem. Working people have the solutions. It's called the Raising Wages Agenda. It starts with the absolute truth that each and every one of us should be decently paid for the work that we do. And we get to define what decent means. It means that no one should make less than minimum wage, and everybody should make a living wage. And collective bargaining should be available for all workers out there. It covers everything that we care about: fair trade, just immigration, equal pay for equal work, mass incarceration, Black Lives Matter, and so much more it covers. And you know, Mark, I want to thank you and this union for the work that you did with Bernie Sanders to help drive the debate. because we now have the most progressive platform that we've seen in decades. Could it be better? Yeah. But it darn sure is the most progressive we've seen in our working career. I can tell you that. And thanks in part because of the work that you did and all the debate that you forced, we now have someone who will drive our agenda. Hillary's tough, she's smart, she's prepared, and she listens. And when she accepted the nomination at the Democratic National Convention, when she talked about the love of country and the selfless passion of being something better for all of us to follow, well, it was clear to me that she'd been listening to us, that she was hearing what we've been saying. See, she's the candidate that is poised to lead us away from the darkness and inequality and trickle-down economics of the past 4 decades and towards the light of rising wages and shared prosperity. See, we've been fighting for 30 years to put the rules of the economy up for debate, and now they're there. This is our opportunity. And she's calling for a new direction on trade, and she opposes the job-killing Trans-Pacific Partnership. And we're going to hold her and every other elected official to that pledge, and we are prepared to kill the TPP if anybody tries to push it through in the lame duck session. You see, she has an aggressive plan to rein in Wall Street, and she'll tax financial transactions so that we can make massive investments in infrastructure and public education and workforce development and manufacturing. And she'll make the largest investment in jobs since World War II. And that's exactly what our country needs. Moody's, that same business firm that I talked about you earlier that gave old Donnie an F for economics, they gave Hillary Clinton an A+ because her plans will create 10 million jobs in this country. 10 million Americans going to work. 10 million Americans providing for their family. 10 million Americans being able to make a better economy and grow demand. And finally, here's the icing on the cake. She knows that the single greatest tool for economic stability and a growing middle class is collective bargaining. And she will protect and expand the freedom of every worker in America to join and form a union. See, this year, the AFL-CIO has launched the largest, most sophisticated, and comprehensive electoral program in our history. Our goal is to advance a working family agenda, period, nothing else. Our strength grows from our unity. It comes from our activism. It's up to us to motivate each other. We need the postal workers. And I'm asking you to talk to your members, encourage them to volunteer, turn out like never before. And if you haven't done it already, talk to your central labor councils. Name a coordinator for each branch so that we have someone to communicate with. See, the change that we need is close at hand. It's right there in front of us. All we have to do is reach out and grab it. All we have to do is get more people off the sidelines and onto the front lines. And in the end, see, this is more than just an election. It's about where our country is going. It's about what kind of a nation we're going to be. An America that says, you are mine and I am yours, or one that governs by dividing and fanning fears and prejudice and racism. See, we are still one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. But that promise is not self-fulfilling. Sisters and brothers, we have to work for it. We have to organize for it. We have to stand together for it and mobilize for it. We need to get to work. You don't win the election on election day. You win it after the election by rewriting the rules of the economy so that every last working people gets to share in the benefits that we create. When the postal workers hit the streets, nothing can stop us. When your members speak the truth about Donald Trump, he'll crumble like a house of cards. You see, we'll fix what's broken in our country together. We'll create a better tomorrow. And it won't be easy. We'll have to work for it, brothers and sisters. Together, each of us, with solidarity, where your picket line is my picket line and my picket line is your picket line. I see a worker fighting. I don't ask why. I lock arms with that worker, shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm, every day to bring out the best in each other and ourselves, to bring out the best in America, to build a nation we can have, must have, and we will have, brothers and sisters. God bless you. Have a great convention.